Inside Story Uganda, real source of political updates.
Ekintu kino twakikolako ne tugenda tumitinga abantu abamu n'abakama bamu ab'ebyamawulire ne tubeetondera mu buwandiike. Secondly, abaali babulwako ebyabwe byabadizibwa bonna abazze bwe gwe tewajja kakati mukama wange njagala nnyo tubeere n'amazima nzomanyi kikonyoko simanyi kulimba nnyo bonna abafiirwako amasimu gaabwe twazizaawo agasinga ge babadde balina ye fact. Kakati tujja kukolako individually tubireke tumebireta mu lukuŋŋaana luno bwe bateeka the point is made.
To make it clear, bonna bafunye ebintu byabwe ne sente z'obujjanjabi okujjako ono n'amukubidde essimu emirundi egyo ebiri.
Kakati tujja kikola
yangambye yabadde mukomera.
Kati wa even unfair
yabadde mukomera.
Alekera awo no money. Let's stop it. So leave it there. We have understood. Tujja kulabagana nawe after here.
Yogera okusiga ekibiina erinnya B.
But then, gentlemen, I invited the press here. For some, we shall sort it out.
An investigation has been launched. Even those phones are being tracked.
Yes.
We want to track them and see who is having them.
Yes.
So we want to
we are not
the
jokers.
We are not
jokers. Boss. One and say the was and the cash one was in a million. Yes, physically here I have it. No serious ebambi boba oli genuine ojja kujja twogere ku bintu ebyo. Kote tuliza kuyana buntu butuma kusto. Akali baseba ne banyabo. Tutandike. We have not seen you since we had some fracas outside there. I wish to apologize on behalf of FDC for whatever happened outside there. We were not fully responsible, but we were partly responsible because you were near us here. You know what happened and how it came about, but I don't want to go into it. Today is a press conference, which is a special one in a way, where we are going to inform you what is going on at Najana Nkumbi. We are sorry to the country for what has been happening and the exchanges we have been having as party members. We are very sorry. But the good thing with FDC, there's nothing that is too big to be handled. This issue here has been bad and good in a way. Bad that we have watched our data in public. Very good that we have gotten the best coverage I've ever gotten since I became the spokesperson of this. It's the best coverage. That has been relatively negative. But if we overcome it, I think it will be a positive thing. You are being the press, you know what it means. No press, I mean, bad press is better than no press at all. So we have gotten it badly, but at least we have gotten it. The whole country is now listening to us. They know what FDC is, even those who didn't know. So when you get over this one, I think we'll be good to go. If we fail, we'll go to the grave. Ladies and gentlemen, today I have two issues. I'll make some announcements at the end. No, Sobola. On the again of addressing. The main person to address today is Dr. Nawiso. But I will address you on some issues on the status of the party as we are moving the next stage. So I don't want to waste a lot of your time. I want to introduce these two gentlemen here. Very, very young, as you can see them.
Because
they removed the age limit, now they may be 2 years. But next, the gentleman next to me is Dr. Nawiso. Frank. Most of you have heard about him, but I can say he has been a lecturer in many universities for a long time, and he has a doctorate. He's not a doctor of medicine. He's a doctor of PhD, which means whatever he learned to the maximum. There's nothing he did not learn in his field. Next to him is Mr. Kasoji from Mukono.
Yeah, he's
a former minister in the government. When you look at him, you think he's a normal man.
Not I mean, is the government, but Museveni is the government.
Museveni's government, the first government, NRM government, was a former minister. These two gentlemen here are part of the group that were part of that elders committee, which everybody has been referring to. The elders committee, where all of us were waiting for their report on some allegation which had been made. These two gentlemen and 5 others were appointed on the orders of the National Council, which asked the NEC of FDC to appoint elders to look into the issues which Dr. Besigye had mentioned in that National Council of that time. When he mentioned those issues, some of them now you are privy to, Honorable Nandala replied to him. A good number of you have never known what Honorable Nandala replied to Dr. Besigye, but I'm not going to mention it here, because National Council in its wisdom said we should not take it out. We should form an elders committee to look into those issues. What Dr. Besigye said leaked out. What Mr. Nandala replied to him that time did not leak out. All of you are aware that day, a good number of you are here. When those discussions started behind there, I was forced to chase you away. I'm sorry, but I chased you away. Tactically, you did not know that I was chasing you away, because I didn't want you to hear what is happening behind there. I apologize for that. But I had to do it because that was my duty, to protect the image of the party. So after that NEC conference, there were more than 250 people. When they listened to the issue they were talking about, they said these issues here are not for us to discuss here. I think they better be discussed by elders who are older than these people who are saying them here. So National Council instructed NEC to appoint senior elders who are well known to everybody and respected by everybody to look into these issues. Honorable Amuriat, as the party president and the chairman of NEC, had the responsibility to look for names of people to be on this committee. And something I want to clear, I heard somewhere someone say Mr. Amuriat was also accused. How could you choose a committee? By that time, nobody had accused Mr. Amuriat. And nobody should lie to you about that. Nobody. And he was not in the fray. The NEC members can tell you. By that time, it was Nandala and Dr. Besigye who exchanged down there. So, Mr. Amuriat brought those names to management. By chance, I was on that management that day personally. These two gentlemen were not there. And we discussed, there were 9 names then. We discussed the 9 names, and then we agreed to remove 2 names. As you know, FDC, we must have national character. That's the first thing we start with. Whatever we are doing, someone must come from east, north, central, and west. The first rule we start with that way. If we are choosing 4 people, they must be coming from those regions. We are doing this because some people, whoever joins a party, wants to see himself in that mirror. A party is a mirror. If you don't see yourself in that mirror, you cannot join that party. So we agreed that we must have a national character. So those names were taken to, 7 names were taken to NEC. The 7 names were passed by all members of NEC who were there that day, chaired by Honorable Amuriat. NEC instructed President Amuriat to take those names which are passed to the 2 people, to Honorable Nandala and to Dr. Besigye. Those names were taken to Dr. Besigye, and he approved all of them. He had no problem with any of them. They were taken to Honorable Nandala. He approved them. And then we agreed that when you choose the 7 people, they will choose their own chairman, not us to choose for them anything. And there were terms of references, which Doctor agreed upon and Honorable Nandala agreed upon. So after choosing them, Honorable Amuriat went to inform them that now you are going to help us to do this work. Because all these people here had FDC at heart. A good number of them were founder members, and others were people who are high in society as far as reputation is concerned. So that's how Mr. Nabuso Committee was formed. All of us agreed on the names. There's no single person who can lie to you that did not agree with this committee. Doctor agreed, Honorable Nandala agreed. That's why they appeared before them. So now I want to hand over the microphone to Honorable Nabuiso to address you. After he has addressed you, I will address you on something about elections. Just a little one. Just one statement or two. So, Honorable, can speak from here. But the volume must be up a bit.
Okay. Today is 9th August 2023. And we have agreed to issue a press release from the special FDC Leaders Committee. Our address is titled, Honorables Besigye, Amuriat, and Mafavi will still be needed when rebuilding FDC. Good morning, honorable members of the press. We salute you for the great struggles you are engaged in to become the fourth estate in Uganda's governance system. You are very, very important in our struggle for democracy and basic human rights of Ugandans. The purpose of this press release is fourfold. There are 4 objectives. 1, to remind you, the pressmen, of the terms of reference which our SEC means Special Elders Committee, requested to concentrate on during our investigations. 2, to respond to some of the allegations which some of the senior FDC leaders have made against us. Hey.
Sorry.
3, to reiterate some of the recommendations we propose to make FDC stronger in the future, particularly in the next 30 months. That is from September this year to December 2025, before the next fraudulent general elections in January 2026. 4, to remind Ugandans that political liars and fraudsters are found in other political parties in Uganda. In short, what is happening today in FDC is also happening in other political parties. The NRM has 2 presidential candidates, a father and a son. UPC has 2 presidents, the son of the late Dr. Bote and Peter Walubiri. DP has two factions, one led by Mao, who has now gone away, and Lulume Ruiga, Dr. Lulume Baiga. Jema, I have not heard anything from them. And CP. But we are scared that such things which we are going through may also happen to NUP. So we want to pray to them to be steady and not go to the situation in which we are today. This release is our clarion call and a humble appeal to all FDC leaders in different corners of Uganda to stop washing our political underwears in the public and confusing innocent members at the grassroots. It is based on the FDC's motto, one people, one Uganda, or one Uganda, one people. We should raise above our individual interests, religious beliefs, and ethnic groups, because we are one people who belong to one country. As is already known, on Friday, 20th July 2023, 5 members from SEC, us, formally presented our 19-page report to the FDC National Council meeting here in the FDC headquarters. The 5 were me, Frank Nabuiso, the chairperson of the committee from Busoga sub-region, Tiko Martha Ondoga, a lady from West Nile who has not been able to travel here, Emusu Joe Ediegu from Teso sub-region is not here, Mukalazi Kibuka, and this big man Robinson Kasozi. They come from Uganda. The 6th member, Stanley Tugume Katembeya, from Ankole sub-region, and who was my vice chairperson, resigned from the committee after participating in the formulation of the first draft of this report. While Charles Makaru from Kanungu did not attend any meeting for unknown reasons. Honorable Amuriat, the current FDC party president, who officially appointed us, revealed, as Owekitiba Chikonyogo has said, that our names were approved by the FDC National Executive Committee on 12th May 2023. We therefore got the impression that we were appointed on merit and not as sycophants to some of the current FDC leaders. Our terms of reference, these are going to be distributed to you after this meeting. Even this document is going to be distributed to you. 6 also gave us 10 days to carry out our investigations and make appropriate recommendations to enable the party to move forward more peacefully and responsibly So those who believe that we did show the work can still call for another committee. They can still request for another committee to satisfy their assertions. We are also aware that even World Bank reports have been criticized by different scholars and ordinary analysts. So our report is not perfect, and none of us who wrote it is perfect. None of us has claimed to be perfect or to be holy. We live on earth, we don't live in heaven. I now wanted to turn to some of the allegations which have been made against us. The first one is that we doctored the report in favor of Mafabi, or that he dictated to us what we should write about him. This allegation came from some newspapers, allegedly from Honorable Ibrahim Uganda, Semuju, Honorable Elias Lukwago, and Doreen Nyanjura. The MP for Kira, the Lord Mayor of Kampala, and the Deputy Mayor of Kampala, respectively. We believe that those 4 people are entitled to their opinions about us. But it is still their responsibility to prove that we don't have independent minds. This gentleman has introduced me and him. This is a former minister. I'm a former professor, former vice chancellor of Soga University, former MP for Kagoma County in the 7th Parliament. I'm one of the 50 people who rejected the 5 million shillings to remove presidential term limits from the Constitution. I'm the only one who presented the Rwakitura Plan of 1993, where 77 people sat and said that they wanted to rule Uganda for 50 years. And we have gone for only 38 years, so 12 more. If not, another 50 years. Dr. Kizza Besigye, the first president of FDC, whom we have high respects for, described our report as not being worthy the paper it was written on. So according to him, even in the paper we wrote on was useless, not worth reading. He further asserted that, 1, he gave us the serial numbers of the new notes of shillings 300 million, which Honorable Mafabi asked him to keep in his house in Kasangati for FDC election agents. He also said that we did not resolve the unresolved data money, and that we did not inquire into the current accounts and the financial records of the party using forensic methods. That in Honorable Mafabi's statement to us, he never mentioned the shillings 280 million which he gave to Honorable Amuriat. He also said that we parroted. A parrot is that bird which
Nkusu.
Nkusu. We parroted Honorable Mafabi's lies that the shillings 300 million was for party agents. And that lastly, he said that we selected and inaccurately recorded what he told us. Our response is as follows. Our terms of reference advised us not to engage in witch hunting games. If Honorable Mafabi had deposited the shillings 300 million elsewhere, if, for example, he had hidden it in my house, would I have gone out to say, I have this money? Would Dr. Besigye have known
No.
and initiated this saga? Additionally, Dr. Besigye never disclosed to us the name of his informer from State House about the dirty money, as he called it. It is also true that Honorable Amuriat admitted to us that he indeed obtained shillings 280 million from Mafabi for his presidential campaign. Honorable Mafabi was authorized to borrow money by the party, for the party. And Honorable Mafabi complied. He also tendered some bank papers which he showed that he withdrew money from his own bank account in Chambo. On the other hand, Dr. Besigye did not prove to us that money came from State House. I think according to the Monitor today, Dr. Besigye has shown the serial numbers of the new notes of money which he recorded, which he says came from State House. But it is also true that the State House pays money to its clients, suppliers of this or that, goods and services, and that money still ends up in commercial banks. It is also true that the money that Nandala took to Dr. Besigye was not the same money that Dr. Besigye gave back to FDC headquarters. The other ills we identified We said that Dr. Besigye's refusal to campaign for Amuriat in 2020 to 21 disadvantaged other FDC candidates. But in his lengthy report here, he did not make any comment on that matter. Nor did he respond to our observations on the need for the party to continue participating in elections, while it can also organize other activities to pressurize the government to bring political and socio-economic reforms. He did not say in this report, this paper, publication, anything about the growing disagreements between the Katonga group and the Najjanankumbi. But Katonga is not independent. It's not a breakaway group. It is a part and parcel of Najjanankumbi. Najjanankumbi is in charge of implementing the work plan of the party. Our recommendations to make FDC stronger. We made 8 recommendations to help the party grow. We stressed the following needs. We said there is need for reconciliation, tolerance, grooming younger leaders, amending the FDC constitution in some parts, developing party alliances in Uganda. In Kenya, for example, they usually have 2 presidential candidates only. In the last election, Ruto had several political parties which united and voted for him. Raila Odinga also had 3 or 4 political parties in Azimio alliance which voted for him. We have not yet reached there in Uganda because we have had military governments from 1966 to present. The day we will also think about forming political alliances to fight against dictatorial rule in this country, we will thank God. We also recommended that a book should be written on the history of FDC. And the people who have contributed to the party, to the growth of the party, should be highlighted. And we believe that President Besigye should be highlighted in that book because of the sacrifices he has made for Uganda and for the party. That is why we are sad that the president is undermining his own legacy. And we want to appeal to him on our bended knees that he does not do that. We also said that management of African opposition parties is no easy task. Not everybody in FDC is a manager who can manage an institution. Yes, I have been a vice chancellor of a university. But if you put me in a political party to manage it, I may not be able to manage. And we also, there is a book I have come with here. No, it is here. In our report here, we showed the books that we read to prepare this report. And let me mention them. Not a book and some books and papers. There is already a paper called Forum for Democratic FDC, Democratic Change, Historical Tracking. It has not been published yet. We also have additional suggestions to the committee from Besigye. We have Karinaki Daniel's book entitled Kiza Besigye and His Unfinished Revolution. We want that revolution to be completed. That is to create a people's government and not a government of a few people. One professor from Busoga wrote a book called In Defense of Besigye's Basic Human Rights. And Sabit Jack gave us a book, a paper called My Thoughts About the Problems in FDC. I do not mention the others, but what I wanted to explain is that some people may be whispering messages, wrong messages, to Kizza Besigye to destroy his legacy in this country. Lastly, I want to stress this. We have only 30 months left to have general elections in January 2026. One party has already identified 2 presidential candidates. The other parties have not identified their presidential candidates. So we should not waste time bickering on things which we cannot prove. We should focus on what is positive, what Ugandans want. They want a change in power. And therefore, I want you to help us, help FDC, not to waste time, valuable time, but to bring out the current problems this country is facing. Our population growth tells us that in 27 years' time, Uganda will have 103 million people. Kampala is 5 million today. In the next 20 years, it will be 10 or 15 million. What do we do with the population growth? Matia Kasaija, the Minister of Finance, told us in 2018-19 when he was reading the budget that Uganda's economy, 69% of the economy, is in the hands of foreigners. Who is building these high scrapers in Kampala? Who has brought all sorts of foreigners here? Our educational system is pouring out 500,000 people every year who cannot get employment. And you know who is in charge of education. The other problem is that we have refused, for example, to promote cottage industries in every home. Instead, we worship investors. My time is over. We want to try to tell you, to emphasize that I and him are young persons in mind, and we are willing to answer these questions. Age limit made us younger. So if you have any questions, we are willing to answer. But you'll get the typed paper. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now we can, if you have some questions, you can answer them. Second, I give you the last part. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Becca. Doctor, you have said that your committee, the role of your committee was to reconcile the party.
Yes.
But from what you have just said and also in the report, it looks like you've said, like many times here, that you are appealing to Dr. Besigye not to destroy his legacy. You are appealing to him not to destroy the work he has worked for the party. And in the report you also interviewed a number of people, but all of them were saying Besigye is wrong. There is only one person, Cliff Bakandonda, who was speaking for Besigye in that report. So if you say actually you are for reconciliation and you are a neutral player in this matter, why are you emphasizing the fact that Besigye should not destroy his legacy if yours is neutral and you are not on someone's side? Because I have not heard you say, because there is a conflict between two people, I have not heard you say maybe Nandala don't destroy the party, Nandala don't destroy this. You are saying Besigye don't destroy. So are you not, have you made up your mind that actually this whole matter is Besigye with the problem?
Thank you very much. Let me answer that straight away. To begin with, Besigye is the man who became the first president of the party. Therefore, he is a key figure. And it is very important that we preserve his name. Secondly, before we issued this report, we met with the four party leaders. So let me read this. We met them in the FDC boardroom on Wednesday, 12th July 2025. The people, 23, sorry. The people we met were Honorable Dr. Kiza Besigye, Honorable Amuriat, Honorable Mafabi, and Honorable Ekanya. The meeting lasted for 3 hours. we were brainstorming on the need for reconciliation and the development of the party in the coming years. We asked them, what do you want to do now? The four of you are here. This was before we issued this report. Geoffrey Ekanya told us, no, you organize a press conference. Tell the people that these fellows have reconciled. And we told him, no, that is not our mandate. Our mandate is to produce the report for the National Council to take action. None of those four people said that he did not like a reconciliation. Besigye wanted it. Nandala Mafabi said he wanted it, but he wanted the Besigye to prove that he took money from State House. So we said, okay, we have tried. If they had agreed on that day to our proposal, all this saga would not have happened. But the person, I think the person who first leaked out and said the party is, this report is about pro-Nanda, is pro-Nanda, I think was from some of Besigye's friends. Wycliffe Bakandonda, we interviewed him because he was the first chief administrative officer of FDC. Personally, I worked with Bakandonda anyway, when I was a member of the board of directors on transport. He was working in railway, the railway organization. Therefore, he was a fountain of knowledge about FDC inside out, because he was the first one. So we don't believe that this is biased. No, we think that we have done our duty properly, and of course, Nandala, we have cautioned him, and Ekanya and Amuriat in this meeting which took place here. That is my answer to that question.
Just from that answer, what exactly did you caution Nandala on if the report did not pin him on anything in your findings? But also, in your report, you set out to do reconciliation. At what point did you set out to do investigations into the issues? If you set out to reconcile and not which hand, were there intentions to which hand anybody?
Madam, we interviewed the Besigye. We have recorded most of what he said. I think it was on 6th June. We interviewed Mafabi on 7th June. And we said a lot of things about it. We wrote quite a lot. We were investigating in that interaction. We also interviewed the following people. Ekanya Godfrey, because he's the current Treasurer General. We interviewed the Chamba de Wilberforce, is the current Deputy Treasurer General. Bakandonda Wycliffe, because of what I have already said. We also interviewed the Patrick Oboy Amuriat and Namians, and we recorded their statements. They are here in full. And I think this report has been posted.
In fact, there have been some.
So we investigated. Now, one of the most important questions we asked, and maybe you may want to give us some idea. Why did Dr. Besigye agree to have this money to keep it when he was not the party treasurer general? Because you know you can create problems for yourself. If you are not the party general, party treasurer, why do you accept money and keep it and then later transfer it to your shop from where it was paid back to FDC? Why? We are not demonizing Besigye. We're asking critical questions. If somebody wants to go to court, the court will ask these questions. It is also important, Madam, when Besigye was accused of rape some years ago back, he did not say a word. The lawyers said the man who accused, or the girl who accused him of having been raped is the one to produce evidence. He did not utter any word. And the court made a judgment in favor of Besigye. So the person who insisted on this money issue is Kiza Besigye. So we are saying, that's why we have said that he is responsible for showing, for adducing evidence. We are not lawyers, we are elders, but even elders have some legal brains. Any other question?
No, there are so many people. This one first.
Yes. One, Honorable. You've not accepted. Actually, you've retaliated on the issue of having doctored the report. But
did I say that we doctored?
You declined upon that. But there is an allegation that you were bribed by Honorable Nandala to make the report. You've not made a statement of that. Secondly, Mzee Katembe left the Elders Committee on ground that one of the secretaries who was appointed by Honorable Nandala was changing minutes. Please throw more light on that, on why Honorable, on why Mr. Katembe left. Then, as an elder, I humbly request you to make a comment and a founding member on the ongoing party elections. I think I'm done.
Let me answer you. If you have evidence that we were bribed, please bring it out. That's the first thing. It is you who must prove that we are bribed. I have been in the public life for many years. By the way, some of you may not know that I was the secretary to the NRM external wing in Nairobi, and the secretary to the peace talks in Nairobi between Museveni and Okello before President Moya and Kibaki. I have lived in this country in the last 38 years. Has anybody ever said that Nabwis is corrupt? My friend is here, he can also make a comment on that. Now, so for us, we are trying to advise the people not to buy rumors. because rumors can be very destructive. We did not get any money from him. I bought this suit some years ago. My children bought it for me. My children, I've told them, my legacy, I don't want them to spoil the name of Nabwiso. Nabwiso stands for something. It makes a man with small eyes but foresighted.
Now, for me as a member of the committee, I'm not aware at all that money changed hands. If it ever changed hands, they did without my knowledge. And I'm sorry that I did not share the money, because I didn't even know where the money was shared. But I highly doubt that the money changed hands, because all the time we've been working as a team. And by the way, even the vice chairman of this elders committee, Tugume Katembeya, worked with us for 10 long days until he left to go to Nairobi for treatment. We kept on calling him on phone. At one time he told us he was at Entebbe airport, having arrived from Nairobi. We waited for him in Kampala, and he said now he's driving straight to Nansana to see his medical consultant. At no time did he tell us that he was resigning, until we read it through other circles that indeed he had resigned from us, and for his own reasons, some of which you have now known. The same is true with Makaru from Lukungiri. He did not declare any the appointment, just as he did not tell us why he did not show up. So that is the situation. But for me, I never shared any money, although I used to receive my transported fund from here each time I came. If that is the fund, if that is the bribe, I must admit I received my transported fund.
The boy who acted, the young man who acted as a secretary, was not appointed by Nandala. He was introduced to us by the legal advisor, whose name?
Tugume.
Tugume. And to think that that young man would tell me to write the report, I would say it is an insult. Somebody was even been supervising PhD dissertations. You mean I don't have the ability to write? I think this country must have some madmen.
That one you can answer.
This one you will answer, because I don't want to get into that.
Yes, Doctor.
Yes.
Yes, my name is Harry. I'd like to get it clear from you, Dr. Nabwiso, for the terms of reference. Was it the alleged dirty money part of the terms of reference? And if so, how far did you go into investigating? This was, according to Dr. Besigye, that would have been the key issue, the dirty money. But the recommendations of the report were coming up with other issues, grooming new leaders, reconciliation, and others. And then my second question is about, don't you think the report that you released will further break apart the FDC other than binding it together? Thank you.
The terms of reference were as follows. Invite the aggrieved parties to make their presentations to the committee. And the aggrieved parties, we were told, were Besigye and Nandala, mainly because they had quarreled in the National Council. In the consultation with the aggrieved parties, frame issues or questions that are to be resolved between them. Have an interface with the aggrieved parties and their witnesses, if any, and allow them to present evidence. invite any person or expert that the committee may deem necessary or may be having important information that the committee may use in resolving the dispute. Come with a detailed report with the findings, recommendations, and prescribed remedies to the parties. The spirit in which the committee has been constituted is to resolve the dispute between the senior party leaders in an honest, balanced, peaceful manner and with equity. The committee should observe the principle of neutral, natural justice and the principle of utmost good faith. So we followed this. Somebody may think that we don't have even the brains to interpret our terms of reference. That is his opinion. But that's what we did. You were not here when I said that even World Bank reports, they are criticized. So now you're asking me the question, the last question. Don't you think this will divide the party more
than uniting them?
We gave those men chance to appear before us and to brainstorm with us about the future. They decided the next day to go viral, even before the report was released. Now, what should we have done? What could we have done if people decided to go the way they behaved?
Maybe what they wanted explicitly.
Oh, the money.
The money.
Yes.
Was the money brought here or not? I think that's the explicit answer.
The money, the issue,
yes.
I think it is a good thing. According to Besigye, the major complaint was about the 300 million shillings. And that's why we discussed it. These other stories you hear that FDC received 7 billion, 18 billion. Nobody has told us about that, and it was not investigated.
Even the 280 million given to Amuriat.
Yes.
Nobody mentioned it in the committee.
But Amuriat received it. He told us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Daniel Msanja is my name. So, Doctor, you're here to tell us that the gentlemen have failed to reconcile.
Yes. They have not reconciled.
What caution did you give to the Honorable Nandala family in your report? And two, who appointed your committee to investigate these people?
No, that one I'm not going to answer. I started with it. Yes,
Okay, the
first one, yes. We should be
The caution to the four gentlemen, Amuriat, Besigye, Ekanya, and Nandala, was, if you do not reconcile, you are going to tear the party. You are going to tear it up. That's why we said, let us agree before this report is released. And that caution has come true.
Thank you, Doctor. In your communication, you did say that Nandala, Besigye Nandala, was allowed to borrow some money to run party activities in elections. And you did say that he ended in some statements. But one would ask him or herself, why was that not captured in your report? And then how much was borrowed and from which bank? Thank you. Then the last question is, your report was recommending for reconciliation. Just a few days after your presentation of your report, we are seeing some of the party leaders being suspended from the positions in the body. You think in one way or the other, one of the sides has also not respected the recommendations of your report, and as an elder, what do you advise? Thank you.
First, in our investigations, I said some bank statements were tendered from Stanbic Bank. I may have not said that. Stanbic Bank at Chambo.
Interested in the money that was brought.
500 million withdrawn. I have already said. Now, Nandala Mafabi also told us that he has many bank accounts. He's not like me. Me, I operate dormant accounts. He said he has an audit firm. It is there. An international audit firm. He gets money. He worked for World Bank. He is also the chairman of Bugisu Growers Cooperative Union. And as the chairman, he has a lot of say. He has personal businesses. But we were not interested in his personal businesses. Our interest was, did he borrow money and give it to the party? And the answer is yes, he did. Did anybody, has this money been paid? The answer is no. The 300 million. Besigye's shop has not paid back. 670. What we have here is that on 14th January, the chief of the administrator got 120 million. On this, in the morning, in the afternoon, 80 million. Then on 15th, 73,600. And then Uganda shillings, I think 23,730. So the unpaid balance on the 300 million from Besigye's shop is 670,000.
Just a quick one, Doctor. Did you interest yourselves in asking SG Nandala why this money was not banked on the party account rather than giving it to Dr. Kizabesi?
Yes, he explained.
And what could be the reason? What could be that reason?
The reason,
Because the party looked at it as being
the reason, even Besigye has said it in his, you read the Monitor today. The information that Nandala gave him. Yes.
Where?
Which is?
about the going saga, some leaders being sacked.
I do not know who has been sacked. That information I don't have. But if it is true, there must be reasons why, and whether the person who has sacked them has the powers in for this constitution. It is here. So people should look for this. And that's why we have recommended that this document should be reviewed and remove powers, some of the powers, particularly in the management of finances, to make sure that you have transparency. Yes.
Yes, I'm Nelson Kiva from the New Vision. One of my concerns is about this statement. Let me read it from you. That our type of engagement advised us not to engage in games of witch hunt before you started this, before you started your investigations. What informed this decision of yours? There's another issue is about the issue of money. When Besigye was talking the other time at his press conference, he talked about bringing some money in dollars. But in your report, we don't hear this coming out, that this money devalued because it was returned in dollars. Did you find out? Then when you pinned him on the issue of coming out with the person who told him from State House. What did Besigye tell you particularly? Why did he decline to tell out this person?
Those questions are enough. But,
now, first, money being changed into dollars and so on, Besigye did not speak about it. And we didn't record it. Secondly, he refused to disclose the name. And therefore made it possible. I mean, we wanted to interview that person. But having refused to do that, we couldn't do anything about it. What was the third question?
It was about which hand that you noted.
The legal advisor addressed the members about legal modalities that had to be observed throughout their meetings. He stressed that the committee was not a court, but could perform some quasi-tribunal functions. Next, he pointed out the expected outputs from their investigations. A, reconciling the two parties or conducting successful mediation between them, preferably including a mediation agreement and a report. B, in case it is not successful, there will only be a report to the committee detailing what transpired during the committee meetings, findings and recommendations. So this is legal advice.
Maybe, sorry, Chairman, when Besigye was addressing, he talked about you particularly attending a meeting which was organized by the party secretary general and the president in Uganda, where you disclosed some details of the report, where you discussed the report before it was made public.
It was July 2nd. It was a Sunday. I have a home in Uganda. On 1st July, I think. No. I don't remember, but I think it was thereabout. We went to bury Wafula's wife. I even saw Chagulanyi there, Amuriat, Nandala. The next day, which is a Sunday, I received a call that the president of the party and Secretary General were in Uganda town. They were addressing people on party structures. Being a this person, I decided to go to the meeting. And in that meeting, I talked about two things. One, that every district in Busoga should have a work plan, that you don't just release money when people have not written their work plans. And I mentioned the districts which had not given us their work plans. Two, I distributed a paper on Busoga's escalating poverty. By the way, I was questioned by Besigye about it, and I sent him the papers. For me, I do not go by hearsay. I usually write my documents. I sent him the papers. So what do you think is the crime that I committed on that day? I did not say anything about the report.
We summarize when we have over asked. Okay, last one. I'm sorry.
I did not disclose anything about that, what we are doing. You see, you are questioning my integrity. And you are right to question my integrity. But I want you also to look at my track records. Whether I have been a thief, whether I have been in the police, whether I have been arrested.
So, that's right.
Doctor, my name is Austin Harris from National Broadcaster. Now, with due respect, I think there is one thing that needs to be made clear for a Ugandan without the support of FDC who wants to know what it is that is asking that the FDC. Doctor, in your report, I have used it very well. It's really recommended for things like conciliation of these leaders if they do not want to put the party. But the report was directly opinion Dr. Kiza Besigye. But we would want to, because every time there must be reconciliation, both parties must have had somewhere where they went wrong. Now, these people would want to know where did Nandala go wrong, that he has to apologize or if anything, reconcile with any of these leaders. Now, secondly, Doctor, we have had stories making the rounds on social media and everywhere of members being sacked from the FDC. Whoever is sacking them, whether they have obligations to do so. What's your comment on that? Do you think it's a rudimentary method of solving issues? Instead of reconciling,
but he has answered both of those questions, if I'm not out of my recording.
No, let me repeat for emphasis.
Whenever you have issues.
Let me repeat for emphasis. I have said, I do not know who has been sacked and for what reasons. But we recommended that this document should be revised to clearly delineate the powers of the people who appoint and who sack. That is one. Secondly, where did the Nandala Mafabi, we told him it was wrong for him to take money to the party to somebody who is not the party treasurer. Why did he take it there? The party treasurer, let me read for you what Ekanya said, because he was the party treasurer. Very briefly, Honorable Kenya asked, he replied that the sources of finance for the party have been shrinking and fundraising has also reduced. He added that the party is entitled to money from the consolidated fund with the approval of the Electoral Commission, its members of parliament and contribution. But he said that he did not know of any dispute between Dr. Besigye and Honorable Mafabi regarding that money, though he had heard about it from social media. So that's what he told us. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know whether we translate it does it in Uganda, but it's not very easy to do it again in Uganda like this. Sometimes you can translate. But I wanted to
highlights.
But I wanted to tell you something in English before I go to Uganda. Yeah. The National Council, which sat down there, resolved that district where elections were not conducted should be conducted. They should approach the EC and they make a program to do the elections. This has been done, and the Electoral Commission has given out a program where all elections in Uganda in FDC will end on the 18th August, where they were not held then. After that day, there will not be elections again until maybe 2029. Oh, filling in positions. People have been asking about elections. The EC has its own program and we outed it here and it's still ongoing. Those who are not satisfied, National Council advised them to approach the EC. That's what I can report on elections.
Can you also comment about the sackings of some of the
members of the National Council?
I understand the suspension of some of the members, the secretaries. We saw a letter yesterday by the 100% suspending some of the members.
I'm not aware of the suspension yet. What I'm aware of, that the chief whip was replaced. You want bad words, you people of the Mandi, sacked, dismissed, which we don't do in FDC. For us, we may be we replace someone with someone else.
Maybe the letter that was calling for some of the members to come and visit the disciplinary committee of the party.
Yeah, that's.
You confirm that.
That letter was.
And the reason as to why, some of the reasons as to why these people must appear before the disciplinary of the party.
I believe all of you read that letter. If I'm not out, all of you read it. The president said in that letter that he will out the reasons when they appear before the chairman of the disciplinary committee. So the reasons, I don't know them even myself. Because the letter is written properly. That the reasons will be given at that point when they appear.
What if they don't appear?
If they don't appear, if you don't appear in court, what happens? Does the court run away or whatever? Secondly,
that letter where it was ending, it was saying these other people, it is the president who appointed them. Therefore, he has the power to replace them in the meantime. So has he already passed judgment before even the committee has constituted to hear the matter even sits?
I think he can only remove them after they have appeared before. That process has to start with the chairman of the disciplinary committee sitting. And then he brings his reasons why. He cannot just wake up and, Amuriat cannot wake up and sack me. Here, I can say it on air, he can't. But when he takes him to the disciplinary committee, it is very clear in the constitution, when you are in the disciplinary committee, the president can put here someone acting in your position until that case is disposed of. And I'm talking with experience, all of you know, I've ever been in the disciplinary committee of FDC. I went with Betty Kamia, Honorable Betty Kamia, and the Honorable Onzima. I'm the only one who remained in FDC. The other two are sacked. I went through it. But when you are in that, when they are charging you in that situation, you are supposed to be out of your position. Someone acts in that position. But that one who is acting is not substantive. The minute the case gets finished and you are absolved, you resume your position immediately. I think we understood. Uganda, ajja kwogerayo kitono nnyo. Oba mwandibadde mubuuza bibuuzo to make it simple. Yes, kubanga wanaddamu byonna bijja kutawanya. Kati mubuuze ebibuuzo nga bina byokka zigayidinge. Yes.
Okusinziira ku Dr. Kizza Besigye alipoota gye mwafulumya ekigambo kyafeesa mu bizungu worthless talina amakulu w'ensonga yali bias mwalina kyekubirira n'ensonga endala mwava ku kyokunoonyereza ku ssente naye mu recommendations zammwe ne mugamba nti balina kubanga bareconsilinga ekya ssente how far did you go okulaba nti nomunoonyereza ku ssente ezo ezimanyiddwa nga dirty money.
Ku bya ssente Dr. Besigye first ye yagunjawo ekigambo dirty money. Ffe twali tetukimanyi nti waliwo dirty money and none that, you know, clean money. Ye yagunjawo ekintu ekyo. Ye yakitwala mu National Council. Ne yagaa nti waliwo miliyoni 3 no miliyoni 5. Sente ezo zaava mu State House. Mwenyini National Council netasobola ku resolvinga kintu ekyo. Ne wabeerawo meetings 4 Besigye ze yatuulamu ne banne ne baba mwafaabi ebusaabala ewa ambassador birigwa waswa bwe baalemererwa kwe kuteekawo komiti eno. Naffe kye twatandikirako okwagala okumanya zo zino ssente z'ogamba nti Nandala Mafaabi yazifuna mu State House zaali mmeka. Naga nti ye baamutwalirako miliyoni 3. Tubuuza lwaki baazikuleetera ggwe, not another person. Secondly, oli gwogamba nti State House informer yaani, tuyinza okumubuuza oba tetuyinza kumubuuza? kakati ffe tugende tunoonye buli state house weri nga tugamba ani yagira ati ku ssente zino bayinza okulowooza nti waliwo ekizibu mu mutwe gyaffe. So the reason why this report Besigye mu Luganda Besigye ensonga lwaki yeesiba ku ssente zezo kubanga ze zaamutwalirwa ate n'azikwatako n'akola serial numbers naki n'azitereka ewe mu gundi mu dduuka lye ery'ensambya kaakati ate n'azizza mu FDC era mu byonna bye yayogedde recommendations byalowooza nti binaganyula biyinza okuganyula ekibiina. The way forward ku page wano tulabawo recommendation yemu yokka here mu luzungu agamba nti efforts should be made to conduct a forensic audit. Amakulu nti bongere okubuuliza mu bya ssente kaakati obanga ekyo ye recommendation ye era tugisamu nnyo ekitiibwa naye ffe twakola recommendations 8.
So kuno banafunye bulungi mu luzungu bagambye kubanga kubayisa mu maaso ne reputation yammwe integrity yammwe nga mu abantu abakakiiko n'ekirala ku nsonga yogamba nti Legacy ye nga omukulembeze wa FDC bw'anaagera maaso n'okuwuliriza hearsay ejja kubanga kidamejinga Legacy ye.
Gwe tomanyi ng'omukulembeze bw'aba awuliriza eŋŋambo kiyinza okwonoona ebyobufuzi bwe? Tokimanyi? Aleme si tugamba Besigye yekka naye buli mukulembeze wa Uganda aleme kuwuliriza ŋŋambo. Check before you speak out. Tetugamba kubanga mu African rumors ziyinza okuba 95% correct or wrong. Yes.
Waliwo ekibuuzo ekirala twagala kumaliriza
ensonga y'essente za Amuriat agasiza nti
yazifuna. Yes. President w'ekibiina eky'FDC Amuriat yatukakasa nti yafuna siringi miliyoni 2.8 okuva ewa Mafaali nga zigenda kukola ku ba party agents abaali bagenda kuyamba mu kulondesa enanga president. So nazikozesa mu kkuba eryo naye ezo Besigye teyazibuuzaako nti waliwo obuzibu teyazoogerako na wadde naffe tetwalaba nsonga lwaki tuzibuuzaako.
No, kati zengera okuddamu ebisigadde. Akooye. Ngenda kubabuulira bino bengenda okubabuulira.
naye ate ekigenda mu maaso kirabanga kitali kyakutabagana
nekyekula kugamba tripooti y'omufu
ripoti yammwe temuli kantu
anti bwe yagamba nti ripooti yaffe nfu teri mu makulu tugambye nti alina obuyinza okwogera kyayagala naye dokumenti weeri history abagenda okuwandiika ebyafaayo balitunula mu bino bye tuwandiise naye byagambye olowooza tebagenda kubiwandiika time will come. So situli beeraliikirivu ffe tulowooza nti omuntu atuyisaamu amaaso bw'aba ayagala akole naye nze bwe ngenda ewange mukyala wange atampisaamu maaso.
Nandala yabawa ekyo jamuliro okumufevalinga mu report nekitogeeko mwina kitize mwafu nokuwa Nandala
Lwaki mu Uganda
mpozi wagamye n'okugamba baba wa transport refund zalambeka baba wangameka transport refund oli bwebuuza bakulu
tugeze mu integrity tugeze mu integrity
anti kubanga ziiza okubanga transport refund gyetumanyisiye gyoyogerako
otegedde gyenva bwawa mukono
omutwalo gumala baba wangameka
bawe kali akantu
nekyo tujja kiddamu
bawe akantu kebaga mu Luganda
ndoba wasente
bagamba nti omukulu Nandala yabawa ekyojamugira okuwandika ripooti ngemufevalinga
nawe bagambye nti nze nga Kasozi mbadde memba wa komiti sifunanga sente n'emu nga kyojamumiro okuva eri Nandala oba omuntu omulala yenna era bwanga waliwo sente ezo ndoozi bazigabananga nze siriiwo sizikwatangako era siziwuliranga nako
bw'oba oyagala sente ze baatuwanga mu allowance genda I think mukyala gundi kaawa asobola okubawo fe tuli transparent
kati baba amaze ebyabwe
FDC katumuddemu FDC abantu bulijjo bwe beekuba mu mutima ne balaba be bakoze nga si bituufu ne beenenya ne bagamba ne Mungu nti gwe watuteeka ku nsi okuyamba abantu bano abalala era ekibiina tekibeeramu bakulembeze bankalakalira abantu abamu bajja abalala ne bagenda bwe banaaba batuusaawo FDC ejja kubeera n'amaanyi mangi
kakati basebo ne banyabo obenjawo okwogerako erako ebya pate ebitali mukulu bakakiiko babadde badde kwogera ku byayo byennyini nolwebenjawo bategeezaawo katono nnyo ekitebe kino ekikulu ekitebe kya FDC teri memba n'omu atakkirizibwa kujja wano era tetulina muntu ono tajja ono alina okujja ono tajja abamu kuffe twajja mu FDC eno si kugiyingira negitandika kyova tulina obuvunaanyizibwa okulaba nti tugisigazaawo bwe tujja wano abamu tansina okuteekamu bannamawulire olaba omuntu enajja nakumitoyi wa Nandala olaba omuntu ng'ayogera ne Dr. Besigye mu Kampala nti wa Dr. Besigye kati mutandisa okutiisa n'abantu bankiro okukwata kati okunyumya n'emboozi ng'abantu ba bulijjo ffe kye tulabanga ekikyamufe abamu ku ffe abalina abantu bano nze mbawa example eyange twatandika ekibiina kino n'abakulu bano nga tukyagala buli omu alina ensonga eyamuleeta bano bonna badde bakulembeze baffe kati engeri gye mbadde mubuuzamu mbadde mulaganga dokita wano atayagala nakwagala nonse dokita ayagala wano lwaki tayagala twatandika ffe n'ekifo kino era tuli ba Luganda tewali amutawaanya Nandala naye alina okwagala wano kakati wondaba nga ndi wano mba nzize kukiikirira kibiina size kukiikirira Besigye sije kukiikirira Nandala ate oba tuyagala Nandala noonya amagezi agamugjamu mu mateeka nga bamugjamu waliwo engeri esatu zose okugjamu Nandala oba tomwagala nze kampa amagezi abalala esooka ng'omusabye n'alizayininga eyokubiri okulinda delegate conference n'ogenda n'oyogera